Leo's insights are presented to challenge, inform, and encourage you in your quest to break free from school-based approaches to education. Building upon a foundation of unschooling, we sincerely hope these insights help you to consider how education can be truly unlimited.
This week we continue to evaluate the stereotypical letter from loving parents to new home educators. To put this into perspective, this young family is not only the eldest in the parents' family, but also the first to make the decision to home educate. Although it may be difficult to see, both parents share a common Christian worldview. Since this is the third part in a series, in a continuous series, I highly recommend that if you have not yet viewed the first two parts of this series, that you do so before proceeding. Second, your dedication to the task. Mom has explained that only 1 hour a day of one-on-one time is required to teach all that the child needs to learn. We have been told that starting after harvest and ending before seeding is your goal. To us, that looks like you plan to teach 1 hour a day for 5 months. The school year is 10 months and they teach 6 hours a day. It is hard to see how you can possibly teach them all they need to learn in this scenario. Needless to say, these folks have never questioned just how much wasted time there is in school, nor have they asked just how much is learned and retained in those 10 months. They likely have never considered that school fulfills two objectives, neither of which is truly focused on the child's individual learning needs. First of all, it is a daycare system before an institution for learning. Second, having the children captive for 6 hours a day over 10 months manipulates the majority of a child's waking hours for constructive indoctrination. I realize that most people would never believe this, but if Mom did dedicate the amount of time she planned, the boy would likely have a skill level beyond grade 12 by 16. Never mind how much more would be learned from his parents while living on a farm. School scheduling is never questioned. It is the way anybody alive today understands, as it has been the status quo for over 100 years. You cannot blame the grandparents for using this as a standard, even if it makes no sense. It's the only thing they know, and so to them, it is truth. In the public school system, grade 1 students should be reading by Christmas time, a little less than halfway through the school year. Big standard assumption, actually based on an urban legend. Many students are not ready and therefore not reading by this time. Furthermore, to force children to read when they are not ready is abusive. Children bullied into reading when not ready create untold damage to them. When we allow children to cue us as to their readiness, reading ceases being a problem, often becoming an overnight sensation instead. The boy could not read at Christmas. When I asked him last week, he still couldn't read good enough to read to me on FaceTime. Was this indicative of a reading deficiency or of stage fright? Seriously, when did Mom ever have the child read to her on FaceTime? Also bear in mind that no one enjoys being on display until they have reached at least some level of mastery. The boy would likely have been seen as deficient across the table, as he likely knew he was on trial. Therefore, this is more a measure of grandma's bias than of the boy's reading skills. This is troubling to me. Mom, your comment that it would take a really long time for him to read to me wasn't very supportive of him either. Between the two of you, do you give the boy 1 hour of uninterrupted, undistracted time 5 days a week? At the risk of beating this one to death, the grandmother is clearly using a standard of measure that she could never define. Her opinion, although founded on a number of unquestioned stool-based criteria, is presented with authority. Also, her understanding can only be based on her limited knowledge of what actually goes on in her daughter's house. The first part of this letter addressed the grandparents' concern respecting the legitimacy of home education. This week, we address the grandparents' concerns about expectation. Next week, we will conclude this series by looking at the grandparents' measure of success.
We trust you were blessed by today's presentation. For more helpful information to guide you in your home education journey, please visit educationunlimited.ca and leogaumont.com. Be sure to like us and share us on Facebook.